Hello and welcome back to my channel, my inconsistent channel. So I started reading last year and I've been really into it, and I don't think I've done any type of YouTube video about books that I've read or anything, but I figured I would start because I tend to read a good amount, and I wanted to do a November reading wrap up today. So that is what we're doing. I think I read either 6 or 8 books. Hold on, let me count. So I read 8 books in the month of November, and I wanted to just do reviews and just like my thoughts on the November reading wrap up of the books that I read. First, I started off with Abby Jimenez's Life's Too Short. This is in her Friend Zone series. I really like her books. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's about Vanessa, who is like a travel vlogger. She moves back to like her hometown, and her sister, who has like a drug problem, kind of just like drops her child off with Vanessa and like abandons both of them. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's just wow. But anyways, so she abandons her child with her sister, and then Adrian, who is Vanessa's next door neighbor and landlord, one night, like, the baby keeps crying, and so he knocks on the door and he's like, hey, let me help you, blah, blah, blah. They become friends. It's like a friends to lover situation, and basically it's like life's too short because Vanessa's family, the women in her family, have a tendency to die young. So she kind of thinks that she is developing ASL, but she won't go like to the doctor and all this stuff. So basically it just kind of follows both of them. I liked this book. Again, I rated it 4 stars. There was a lot of like side characters with their own situations going on, which kind of might have not even needed to be noted in the book, but overall I enjoyed it. Then I read Nothing Like the Movies. This is the second book to Lynn Painter's Better Than the Movies, which I loved that book. I rated that book 5 stars. I like YA, because to be quite honest, like, I don't know, like, I just like it. They're easy, they're chill for the most part when it's like a romance type of thing. So I did not really care for this book. I rated this one 3 stars, which is kind of like I'm indifferent about it. Personally, I think it was too long for what it was, which was like a sequel. How long is this book? It's over 400 pages, and it follows Liz and Wes in college. So if you don't know what Better Than the Movies is, it follows Liz and Wes, who are neighbors, and it's again like an enemies to lover, like a fake dating YA. And this one follows them in college, and this one is dual point of view. The first one is only through Liz's point of view, but this is through Liz and Wes's point of view. And basically, like, Wes has had some like family things come up, and he has to like drop out of college, and he pretty much like really dicks over Liz in a way, and then he goes back to college and he's like trying to win her back. But I don't know, I just think like it kind of tainted the first book for me. It was a little unnecessary. Like, I know that they're in college and everything, so they are younger, but like Liz just acted like she was 12 in this book. Like, was just not very mature. It just, like, this book almost like just didn't need to happen. If you really like Lynn Painter, maybe you want to read it, but I would say just screw it. My book club book, because I'm in a book club now, was Havenwood by Catherine Bell. This I read on my Kindle. I actually ordered it from my book club, and I just like never went to pick it up because it's like a half hour from me, but like I digress. Havenwood was like a fallsy type of rom-com. It's about Courtney, who is a screenwriter, and she lives in Los Angeles, and they're on like a writer's strike and everything, and she keeps getting like these emails about this town called Havenwood, which is in Massachusetts. It's like on its way to Salem, Massachusetts, and Finn, who is the mayor, they're trying to contact an ancestor of this deceased witch. They found her remains, and Salem is basically trying to take those remains, and they're like, oh, it's rightfully ours because we're Salem, Massachusetts. And they're like, no, this witch is like an ancestor of so-and-so. So anyways, Finn actually reaches out to Courtney and is like advertising like cheap rent and all that stuff. And so she's on strike. She's like, oh, might as well go there. So she doesn't know that there's this plan that she's actually the ancestor of this deceased witch, And basically they're trying to, you know, like finagle her into signing stuff and blah, 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 all this stuff. I gave this book 3 stars. It had potential. I was liking it in the beginning, but then damn did Courtney annoy the shit out of me, because mind you, she's in her late 20s. Both of these characters are like late 20s, like 28, 29, like, or early 30s. And like, I have a problem when people are in their late 20s and early 30s. I am 32 years old, and they fucking act like they are children. It just pisses me off, and it honestly taints the book a little bit more. I understand there's miscommunication. I understand there's relationship issues. It's life. But don't act like you're 12. But I digress. So I gave it 3 stars. Again, I'm like indifferent about it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. Then I read another YA, and this is The Glass Girl by, what is her name? Kathleen Glasgow. I rated this book 5 stars. I fucking loved this book. I read Girl in Pieces last year when I first started reading, and I loved that book too. I rated that one 4 stars. This one was about a girl named Bella. She's 15 and she struggles with drinking. Her grandmother, who she was like very close to, passed away, and then like her life just kind of started to like dwindle downhill. Like her parents got divorced, and her parents are definitely not the best because they use Bella as kind of like a form of communication. They definitely express their hatred towards another in front of her, which you should never do to a child. And she has a younger sister who's like 7 years younger than her, I believe, and maybe even like 8 years younger than her. And she is kind of like, not completely responsible, but she has a lot of responsibilities in taking care of her sister, and her parents like heavily rely on her. So she just like has a lot on her plate for a 15-year-old. And so basically, you know, like when you're a teenager and stuff, for the most part, like a lot of people experiment with like drinking and all of that. And so she struggles with drinking, and one night she's like at a party, and like a situation happens where she's basically pretty much like not forced into a rehab, but she's kind of like backed into a corner, and she goes into like a rehab facility, and then it follows her through her journey in this rehab and like you know, detox center and everything. And if you have ever been in a like inpatient facility, or like I went for a mental health situation, and I also went to a high school that specialized in like, you know, like mental health and kids who had like a lot of like problems and like family problems and everything, this book, like, you will resonate with it. It is so spot on with so many things. It's like, it's crazy. And she struggles a lot with anxiety, and I think the author did an amazing job of showing her struggles with anxiety. And Bella doesn't even really know that she has anxiety. She just kind of like, you know, drowns it out with drinking and everything. And I think when you're a teenager and when you're like young and you don't really know what anxiety is, or like the feeling, I think the author did an amazing job of describing it. So like 5 stars. I would highly, highly recommend this book. Even if you're someone who doesn't struggle with, you know, mental health or, you know, drinking or anything, I think it's just a really good book to read. And maybe somebody that you know who's going through something, it can kind of help you, you know, experience how they feel and everything. But I loved this book. 5 stars all around. Then I needed something to even me out, as I call it. Like sometimes if I read a book that's like a little bit heavier, I need something like light and airy to even me out. I read Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is the second book that I've read for her, and this is the third book in her Rebel Blue Ranch series. I rated this book, again, 3 stars. I didn't hate it. I actually really liked the storyline. It's about Teddy, who lives in, you know, this town in Wyoming. She is like, what is she? She like loses her job, and her best friend Emma, Teddy and Emma's brother Wes like butt heads. They've always not gotten along. They've always disagreed. They've always just been like, you know, like put together, blown apart type of thing. So Wes has a daughter, and his baby mama, because they were never like boyfriend and girlfriend, they were never married, they really just like, you know, like had like a fling and had a baby together. They were friends. So she goes off to focus on becoming a lawyer for the summer, and he's struggling. You know, he's trying to run this ranch with his dad, and he's struggling because he's got to take care of his daughter. So Emma suggests that Teddy becomes like their nanny, because like the job that she was working at closed down, and they were like, F no. You can see where this is going. Enemies to lovers. Again, I rated it 3 stars. I liked the storyline a lot. I wasn't like obsessed though. Like, it wasn't the best, but again, 3 stars. Also, he had a nickname for her that just made me cringe, and I think that's why I knocked off a star, to be quite honest. But overall, I liked the book. I thought it was good. I wanted more cowboy romance, okay? So I read Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. This is the second book I've read from her, and I ate this up. I rated this 5 stars. I was giggling the whole time. This is what I wanted out of Lost and Lasso. This is what I got. Loved it. But anyways, it's about Skylar. She is a country musician, and first of all, her parents are shit. You know, they're, again, shitty parents. They kind of like control her music, her look, her life, all of this stuff, and she's just like struggling. So she's like, I'm gonna make an album. I'm gonna make it for me. Like, my parents aren't gonna be involved. Like, F them, basically. And so she goes to Canada. She goes to this this producer in Canada, and it's Wes's best friend. And she like meets Wes on her way to the studio, and she winds up staying in like this bunker that he owns, and again, they fall in love, and he is also a single dad. This is like a single dad romance cowboys. He has 2 kids, fall in love, just 10 out of 10. I loved this book. And then I wanted to read something a little bit more serious because I was too giggly. And I was like, I need to depress myself. I read The Glass Castle. This is by Jeanette Walls. So this is a memoir. I have decided I'm not really going to like rate memoirs, but if I had to rate it, I would give it 5 stars. This made me realize, like, listen, I know people struggle. I know that there are kids in really shitty situations. And I went to school with kids who were in really shitty situations, but this was like on a whole new level. It follows Jeanette through her life, and her siblings with her parents and everything. And her dad is like really brilliant, but he's an alcoholic. And her mom, like, respectfully, she's kind of an asshole. So basically, Jeanette grew up in like poverty. Her parents were very much like, they had the ability to work, they just chose not to, basically. So the kids struggled with getting food, having a home with running water, with electric, all of that stuff. Her dad would get jobs, he would lose them, he'd go on drinking binges. Her mom had a degree, like a degree to teach. She just like didn't want to work. She just wanted to paint, she wanted to write, she wanted to be an artist. And when they were really little, like, it was like a big adventure, you know, they'd be constantly moving. And then as she got older, they kind of realized, hey, like, this is not a good situation. So there was 4 of these kids, and it just breaks my fucking heart, because it just, like, if you are not capable of having kids, please don't have them. If you are somebody who doesn't want kids, please don't have them because you feel like you need to. It just, like, the people that suffer the most are the kids. And that really is what this showed. And luckily, thankfully, Jeanette, her brother, and her older sister definitely got out of that situation and that cycle and everything. The younger sister was very vague towards the end. But I would highly recommend this. If you are trying to get into memoirs, this was really good. The chapters were really short, which sometimes I know, like, when you're reading, you know, like a nonfiction or something like that, like, for me, I kind of like having shorter chapters, because then I'm like, oh, okay, I can get through this pretty quickly. But highly, highly, highly recommend this. And then the last book that I read, I need to even myself out because this was a little depressing, was a Christmas romance. So it was about my girl, Lauren Asher. I love Lauren Asher. She is one of the authors that, like, I like her stories and everything. Smut aside, like, I could really give 2 shits if something's smutty. But, like, her romances, I really enjoy. I read My December Darling by Lauren Asher. This is also on Kindle Unlimited if you guys are interested. But this is a small town romance. It's under 300 pages too. So if you're looking for a quick holiday read, this is where it's at. My December Darling. It's about Catalina, who is a nurse, and she's kind of like a travel nurse. She comes back for the holiday season. Her sister's getting married to her ex-boyfriend, but, like, it's the way that it was painted, it's almost like it was her ex-boyfriend, but they never slept together. They were very, like, vague because Catalina was a travel nurse. all of that stuff. So it wasn't like weird, if that makes sense. I mean, to me, it wasn't weird. So anyways, she comes back. She doesn't really stay in Lake Wisteria for a long period of time, and she meets Luke. Well, she's met him before, but she's spending a lot of time with Luke, who is her ex-boyfriend's best friend. And he is a doctor, Dr. Darling, my December darling. And again, friends to lovers, they fall in love. Need I say more? I will say, there was a miscommunication in here, but it was resolved as adults, and I really appreciated it. But I rated this 4 stars. Wait, yes, 4 stars I rated this. Again, it's a quick read on Kindle Unlimited. Absolutely loved. But those are all the books that I read in the month of November. If you enjoy these, let me know. I'm probably still going to try and continue to do these. I do these on my TikTok, actually, because it's a little bit easier. It's a little bit quicker. But yeah, those are all the books that I read. I am currently reading another holiday romance for my book club, and it's How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn, and I already know I'm going to DNF it because like I have like some issues with Megan Quinn, but that's besides the point. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if there's any other book videos that you would like to see, because obviously from behind me you could see that I have been reading a lot as well as on my Kindle. So yes, thank you guys, and goodbye.